you share with us what you consider to be the top line or most important results from this study?
Right. The study had a design, and the design was to examine the idea that when you offer antiretroviral treatment to an infected person and fully suppress the blood viremia to less than 400 copies per mil of blood, that the sexual partner, in this case most of the sexual partners were heterosexual, that the sexual partner would have reduced probability of acquiring HIV. We wanted to, and we'd like to do the study for a long period of time. We wanted to know the magnitude of protection, and we wanted to know the durability of protection. The study design, in order to do this ethically, we had to take people who didn't need therapy for their own health, but who might benefit from therapy for their own health, where we would think it would be harmful, might be helpful, but was ethical. So we had people with high CD4 count enrolled. The median CD4 count enrollment was 446, which is generally not treated. So that was the enrollment, and as we looked at the prevention endpoint, we saw that totally in the linked transmission, so we used viral linkage to understand whether the transmission event was within a relationship. We saw that there were 28 transmission events. There was only one transmission event in people who were suppressed, and a person who was suppressed or should have been suppressed, and there were 27 transmission events in people who were in what's called the delayed arm. They were not receiving antiretroviral therapy. This amounts to greater than 96% prevention benefit. It turns out, because of the study design, we could also look at the clinical benefit of starting earlier, and we actually had a composite endpoint. We looked at both at once, and that the clinical benefit was small but significant. And so when you put the two together, the composite benefit favored early therapy both for prevention of transmission of HIV and improved health for a person who's HIV infected.
So what would you think is the most important implication or implications of this for in the real world and specifically for public health?
Well, I guess there are two sets of immediate implications. And I think the first thing to emphasize is that while the study design looks at earlier therapy, these results surely extrapolate to people who are further along in their disease, okay? It's an artifact of the study design that we're looking at a high CD4 count population. You would see the same benefit in people with lower CD4 counts. Accordingly, we would anticipate this puts more wind behind the sails of finding people who are infected and offering them treatment. And the idea there is that as people are treated, they know they'll have a personal benefit, but now we're showing them that they're very likely to have a substantial prevention benefit, that as they take pills, they're rendering themselves less contagious. That's point one. Point two, we would anticipate that physicians managing couples would look at the status of the couple and determine who's positive and who's negative, and if discordant, they would, for the most part, say, well, we have an opportunity to offer your partner, the infected partner, therapy, and that ought to make this a safer sexual experience. Now, condoms were used throughout the study. We always endorsed all safer sex activities. So this was superimposed over condoms, but we think that the ART itself had a very substantial effect, okay? That's point two. So counseling of couples becomes, for the healthcare provider, a really important part of this. Point three, there is a movement to treat more people, trying to get a benefit for a community, because for every transmission event there has to be a discordant couple. We looked at established discordant couples, but there are other couples that are not so well established. We would anticipate that people treated are rendered less contagious. So the community level benefit or the population level benefit may be something that would be an added benefit from what we're talking about. Point four, when we looked at the clinical benefit, it was mostly focused on tuberculosis, reducing the probability of activation of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is an extremely important part of the AIDS epidemic, so that's another contribution of earlier ART. So I think there are four kind of public health and clinical benefits that come from or are implied by the results of the study.
And where was the study performed?
Study was in, and this is an important question, it was in 9 countries. It's not one place, 9 countries, 13 sites. These countries were in Sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, North and South America. We overweighted to Sub-Saharan Africa because we wanted more couples from Africa because it's the center of the epidemic, and we anticipated higher transmission probabilities in Sub-Saharan Africa.
And did you see any differences regionally?
Yes, we saw many differences regionally. We've only kind of started cutting, slicing, and dicing. But most of the transmission events, 82% of them, were in sub-Saharan Africa. And that's what we actually anticipated, that there'd be more efficient transmission in Africa because the clade, the type of HIV they have there, we believe is potentially more contagious. Viral loads are quite high. Transmission effect probabilities have always been higher in sub-Saharan Africa. That was realized again in this study. Then we saw clinical differences between the regions, and we're just getting into that now.
Now, there's a misperception going around that the study has been closed.
Yeah, the study's
ongoing. Can you
Study,
talk about
yeah,
the next step, your next
Well, the
steps?
study's ongoing. The couples are enrolled, and for those, for the partner in the delay, for the index case, the affected person in the delayed arm, we feel it ethical at this point to offer antiviral therapy to all, if they want to take it, to all the people in the delayed arm who are infected. But that would be offering therapy at higher CD4 counts than are traditional for virtually all countries, or all the countries outside Western Europe and the United States, or in Australia. So we're offering that, and they have a choice of taking it or not taking it. They remain enrolled in the study. The immediate arm, who are already on treatment, we will probably re-randomize them to try and investigate some additional questions of great importance to us about durability of the prevention and about clinical benefit.
And last question, there's an ongoing debate in the HIV community around earlier and earlier treatment of HIV. Do you feel that this study will contribute to that debate?
Yeah, contribute to the resolution of the debate. Let's hope I don't make more debate. I think that the results suggest the following. In this particular study, the first randomized controlled trial that compared the following: CD4 count between 350 and 550 compared to CD4 count between 200 and 250. The starting point was in the 440s in the immediate arm. It was 226, 225, 26 in the delayed arm. We see a benefit, okay? And the question is that degree of benefit, and that benefit is clear to us, it helps inform us, and then the question is that degree of benefit alone, does that justify the guidelines as they're currently written? We have to take into consideration the prevention benefit at the same time, realizing the prevention benefit is probably greater in lower CD4 counts, something we couldn't see in the study. So then the modelers and implementers, they'll look at the data and say, okay, we now know this is going to work. It's like a tennis racket. What's the sweet spot of the very best investment of money? Should we raise the CD4 count where we start people? Should we keep it where it is, less than 350? Those are the kind of options that are available. And that'll be a discussion. Starting tonight, I'm in a panel tonight, discussing this. Have we identified the best spot? And we'll see.
Thank you very much.
So thank you.